Hey y'all, welcome back to Group Therapy. I'm one of your hosts, licensed clinical psychologist, Dr. Kristen Casey.
I'm licensed psychologist, Dr. Jessica Rabon.
I'm Czar of Psychology, Dr. Justin Puder.
And we also have KBI. She's unable to come to the phone right now. Today we're talking all about friendship. So settle in, take a seat, and welcome to Group Therapy. Wait, what did you fucking say? Czar. I'm trying to hold it together. What did he say?
The Czar of Psychology.
What does that mean?
You either get the specialization or you don't.
What is it?
You'll find out.
Stop,
Nothing.
tell me.
Russian.
I did a weekend-long training that's like, if you want to have the Czar of Psychology, attached to your name.
Czar, like CZAR, right?
Yeah.
That's how you spell it.
Oh my God. I thought my ADHD was just getting the best of me and was just going, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's like,
That's kind of what I thought.
It's an emperor of Russia before 1917.
I am.
so like Anastasia.
You either have the title or you don't. Sorry.
So I wanted to start with a definition of friendship, and then I have a question for all of you. So I pulled up good old Wikipedia. Jess is going to literally bury herself into a grave because it's not anything from Google Scholar Shorts. But here's a working definition of friendship from Wikipedia. It says, friendship is a relationship of mutual affection between people. It is a stronger form of interpersonal bond than an acquaintance or an association, such as a classmate, neighbor, coworker, or colleague. In some cultures, the concept of friendship is restricted to a small number of deep friendships or relationships. In others, such as the US and Canada, a person can have many friends, perhaps a more intense relationship with one or two people who may be called good friends or best friends. Other colloquial terms include besties or best friends forever, aka BFFs. Although there are many forms of friendship. I'm sorry, this is so crazy.
Real technical.
Wikipedia is like, I can't. Although there are many forms of friendship, certain features are common to many such bonds, such as choosing one another, enjoying spending time together, and being able to engage in a positive and supporting role to one another. Unlike KBI and Justin during this conversation earlier before we got on this podcast. Oh,
I was about to say those last three things I could not attribute to this group. So.
No,
I agree.
could not attribute it to you. Anyways.
I'm just confused why only in the US and Canada do people have many friends.
I don't know. Maybe people in other countries don't.
We're needy.
Or it's Wikipedia and somebody just added random things.
I mean,
anyway.
have you met Justin and his extroverted ass?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So I have a question for all of you. So do you think that you have to be similar to be friends with someone? So is similarity a necessity? Is it necessary for a friendship? That's a vague question for a reason.
I think it depends on what you're similar on.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Justin's saying no because he's like, I'm like none of y'all. I'm unique. I'm so unique.
Special.
I don't think you have to have the same interests. I think you need to have similar values.
That's what I was going to say.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I think that your core values need to be similar in a lot of ways, but you don't have to really have like this overarching overlapping of interests.
I think for certain friendships, I don't think for all friendships, you have to have overlapping values. I think this gets into how we might say a BFF versus I've had going out friends. I've had sport friends. I've had like college friends, grad school friends. I've had friends that serve particular overlaps and functions almost. And then I agree, like BFFs, I would say value, not having overlapping values would be really hard.
Yeah.
But I don't think all friends have to be in the BFF range.
Agreed.
There's different levels. Yeah, I think you make really good points because I think with like best friends, like really close friends, values have to align. I actually would argue for me personally, like even acquaintances or even people that I like commingle with or I do little things with or like I just kind of like see them for coffee. I still feel this like pull towards like if their values are so off compared to mine, it is kind of hard, just me personally, to connect or I don't know, wonder if they see me. And maybe that's my value with friendship. Everybody's is different, but.
Well, and Justin, when you were talking kind of like your different groups of friends, I think there are still similarities within each of those groups. So like your sports friend, the similarity is you have an interest in said sport, even if like values are different. Or like you're going out friends, you're going to go out with people that enjoy going out. You're not going to go out with people. So I don't think you have to be similar in all arenas, but there's probably going to be at least one similarity between you and your friends, regardless of kind of the level, because otherwise, like I'm even thinking of like work friends. And even if the only thing like we have in common is work, we have that in common. Because I have work friends that I'm like, I know outside of work, we would not be hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, you reduce it all the way down. We're human beings. Could I be friends with an alien? Sure. But we're both...
Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely. I would love to be friends with the alien. But no, I agree with what you're saying. That I think when I heard the question, thinking of similar, I think of things like values. I think of things like even... things that are depthful, like religious views, politics. And I've certainly had friends with people that, again, in certain instances, playing sports together or going out or, going to the gym together, where I know we don't overlap on those. But I'm also not interacting with them in a way that relies on us having similar political views. Where for my closest of friends, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine in those close friendships, like not having those similar.
Yeah. And maybe all your values don't have to align, maybe just a few ones that are important to you. Who knows?
And it's like, how do you know that? Like, have you asked your friends? Like, how do you find that out almost?
Yeah.
Just you're an interrogator. You're like, okay, listen.
Give me your top
like
5 core values. Go.
You literally, and if they're not going to tell you, KBI will find it on the internet somewhere.
Somewhere, there it is.
No, it's true.
But
though.
even thinking back to the side session we did on values, like we all listed our values and like we had some similarities, but I don't think any of us had like the same top 3 values.
That's
right?
a good point.
So,
yeah.
But I also think, there might be, because values can also like overlap. So somebody might say, K10, I'll use you as an example, like friendship is like a top value. And maybe for me, I'm like, oh, that's like in my top 10, but not like number one. But we would still have similar values. But Justin, I think you make a good point about like, how are you interacting with these friends and do things like, are you getting in political discussions with friends if you're playing pickleball? I don't know. You might. I don't know what you all do.
So who did you vote for? Smack.
So then it's not going to matter. What you're going to probably look for is, who do I enjoy playing pickleball with? Who, do I enjoy being around? Is good competition? Makes me feel good? Things like that. So you're not looking at those like deeper values. So Justin, I know you just said like, how would you know the values of your friends? One question I was going to ask you all, like, what qualities do you all look for in friends? Or like, do you look for qualities, or do you happen to like just reflect and be like, oh, I guess all my friends have these qualities about them?
All my friends are mentally unhinged.
Yeah.
Most of mine are. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the friends that I feel the most comfortable around. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to pull from there.
She's like, it's none of y'all. So
It's obviously not in a grade wall. Not at all. Not at all.
Like, something that I truly value in a friendship, like, obviously, like, we all value trust, right? We all value kindness. We all value all of that, right? Those are always the top ones. But for me, like, what I really look for in a friendship is a person that I can go and do something with, right? But also a person that I can sit next to them on a couch and scroll our phones or do something like that. And it doesn't matter. Like it does not affect the other person, in that way. And then we go and do something. And then like, that's something that like, I kind of value in a friendship, is that I don't always have to be on with a person.
Yeah, something I have found over the years, especially like growing up in Massachusetts, moving to South Carolina, moving around for grad school and stuff, I really value the friendships that like we can go periods of time without talking, but like still reach out if you need it. And it's like you just pick up where you left off or like can check in whenever. But also if there's like time that you're not talking, it's not like, oh my gosh, this person hates me. It's just life is busy. For me, if I think about like my close friends too, I think the ability to have like hard and like real conversations give that feedback, receive it. Because I'm a nerd, also like intellectually stimulating conversations, not all the time, but like, and I have certain friends that I do that with. Like there's definitely friends that I'm like, I would never try to like sit down and discuss a research paper with, and others that I'm like, I can send and be like, oh my gosh, I found this really cool article. I know you're all making fun of me.
Serious about
or
it.
she deep dives on the internet and educates us on whatever we're talking about in the moment. And I'm here for it.
It's like the best. I feel like I've gotten so much smarter knowing Jess.
When we sit around a fire, we just have questions and Jess is on Google immediately just telling us all about it.
And we'll have those conversations on, Justin's porch here shortly. We'll just be talking about something. I'll have my phone up and just Google it for you all.
We need it.
We're still skeptical that you're not AI, but we're going to throw a bucket of water on you and see if you short circuit. But I agree that there's this moment of vulnerability. Like when you're like, I need to go recharge my batteries. And we're like, we love you, Jess, even though you're a robot. We know. But that's that moment of vulnerability where I feel like a podcast acquaintance turns into a podcast bestie. Or again, a pickleball friend turns into a deeper friend when someone's vulnerable and actually authentically tells you something about themselves. And again, it's sort of stereotypical, like guys can do a lot of things together and not know the other people at all. I've seen those videos and I always laugh. I'm like, I would play basketball every summer back home with the same people. I didn't know half their names. I'm talking like 4 or 5 years in a row. I didn't know their names.
Oh my, you were just having fun. Yeah.
But like, it's just like, it's weird to think about, but the utility of it was playing basketball.
Yeah.
It wasn't deeper than that. I wish them well. I thought some of them were kind of cool, but I also, so many of them, I didn't know anything about them. Nothing. Couldn't tell you what they did, where they worked, where they're at school, nothing. And to me, that's like, when I think of friendship, I'd say they're my basketball friends. But that's different than saying like some of my best friends where there's been vulnerability, there's been ups and downs, there's times on the couch, there's, times of us cussing each other out and having falling outs. Like you experience all the things.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. Because I think everybody presents themselves to you as kind of who they are. And then hopefully there's a compatibility factor, And my thought is too, like, I feel like there's a lot of people that I get along with. And even if I don't get along with someone, I wish them well. Like, you know what I mean? It's totally cool. Like, we just don't vibe. Like, I'm not going to hate you. Like, we just don't vibe. But the friends that I feel the closest with, or the friends that I feel like the most at home with, or the friends that I could have those really deep conversations with, and it doesn't have to be like about any deep topic, but if I'm kind of going through something, I feel like there's a value for me in friendships where I could just kind of say it. Like, yo, I'm going through some shit. All the while, I love friends that are also able to engage in humor. That's like my big thing, So it's like, could we have those deep conversations and like get a little vulnerable? And then could we like joke around and like roast each other? Like that to me is like a really well-balanced friendship for me. And the intellectual stimulation is great too. But Justin, to your point, I have a lot of different groups of friends too, because I've moved around so much too. So I think it depends on like where you live and how often you move to. And if you live in your hometown, just say, and you've never moved, for listeners out there, you might have the same friends from high school or even college and like you're around them all still. So I think it depends on like the season of life you're into and what friends make the most sense for you. Cause I have a lot of friends who are, moms now and I'm not, right? So like there's a little bit of difference there and we always seem to meet each other again. You know what I mean? So different life circumstances, I think, call for different friends too.
And I think that's the hardest part. Like, thinking about, where I was 16 to 20 to 25 and kind of that season of life and how that does change friendships. Like, I remember being 16 and being like, I'm going to be friends with these people for the rest of my life. And very valid for many people. They are still fair. Like they still have their like high school group of friends. They still get together and all of that. But I look back and I say like, I'm probably really only close with one person from high school who's the godparent to my child, and a couple people who I'd say I'm a little bit more than like acquaintances, but we aren't close anymore. Like I go home, we hang out, like that type of stuff, and we might share a meme here or there. But I think that's also sometimes the hardest part when you go specifically like maybe from high school into college, and especially like graduating, is, you know, that the changes in the dynamic of those friendships as we grow. And if those friendships don't grow with us, that's also something that's really hard. Which is something that I've had to address over the years, is like, as I grow in my life, in my career, in myself, people don't grow with you. And what does that look like?
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's really hard because you might really love them, you know, or value them as a human, and you're just in two different paths in life. You know, you're just seeing different things, doing different things. And it doesn't mean y'all aren't like, you know, that you guys don't like each other. It just means that you have different things going on. But it is sad to think about, you know.
Yeah. When I reflect on like different friends I had in different phases of life, and most of like, if I think of like my high school friends and who I talk to now and who I don't talk to, and like college and so on and so forth, at least for me, most of them were never this like big like friendship breakup or anything like that. It's just kind of like, you know, we were in high school and then I moved 1,000 miles away for college. Or like, I even think of grad school. Like we still have like our grad school group chat and things like that. But it's like, when you're in grad school with a cohort of like 6 people, you are doing everything together. And yes, now we're all psychologists and we'll like, you know, consult each other, reach out, or like do life updates, but we're not all together all the time. And in that same season of life. And so it's just, sometimes I reflect on, you know, the friendships functioned really well for the season of life I was in and served that purpose. And, you know, now I'm in a different season of life. And as somebody that is much more introverted, even though texting is lovely, it is so exhausting for me to also try to just like keep up with everyone. So I think that's why earlier I said, you know, I like the friends I can not talk to for like X amount of time. And then I think of them and I'm just shooting them a text or like, you know, a meme on Instagram or things like that. And we know the relationship is still there.
Well, we all know how exhausting texting can be when the group chat gets lit and you realize that Justin can't keep up with it either.
No. I don't know about y'all listening. Do you try? I just got done with one sesh and it said 26. Like, I mean, there's voice notes in there. There was pictures of things. I was like, when is it not worth your energy? And I just take the L. I'm like, you know, I'll figure it out.
I take the L so much in our group chat. I love you guys, but like sometimes I'm looking and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm not gonna be able to catch up anytime soon. So I wait until
that's what I love about the new iPhone settings is it has the transfer for the voice memos and the voice memos you can speed up to 2 times speed. So I hear you guys talk in super speed.
And you don't have to keep the message open now to listen to the audios.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's helping. It's helping.
There's a whole episode on group chat anxiety that we need to tackle in group chat.
We do. No, we do.
And mental health.
Because I definitely just listen to the group chat voice memos on my drive home. I just play you all in the car and I'm like, okay.
We're in surround sound.
Like if it's on Mondays when I have my 8 back-to-back, I'll have literally, there was one week you all sent me like 26 minutes worth of voice memos.
Oh my God, did we really?
Yes. Oh my God. And then Justin was like, I'm just adding more voice memos because Jess has to catch up on all of them.
That happened.
That's like half of the therapy session.
Was weeks ago. Anyways, K10, I cut you off.
No, you're good. I forgot because my ADHD. You're good. But So based on, I guess I want to say based on your age, how do you make friends? But I guess I just want to open it up. Like, how do you make friends as an adult? Like, how do y'all make friends as an adult?
The internet.
Or how do you think that other people make friends as adults? Anybody over the age of 18, technically. How do we make friends?
I feel like as you get older, so at 18, it was a little bit easier, like 18 through 24, when I was like in college, I found like it was a little bit easier because like you went out, you were mingling. Like, again, if you went out, the area I did, but like you were mingling with people a lot more, that type of stuff. I feel like as a grown ass adult right now, I find that I make friends in activities that I do. So like I have my gym friends that I have now. Like I have my internet friends, and I still have like my little cohort or like my work friends. And like, even for me, like that has kind of been shattered over the last year because I left a job where I was working in person and I saw these people every day. They were my friends and all this. I left my job. I don't really speak to them, not because I didn't like them, but we just don't see each other. And I'm in a job now where we are all virtual. I've only met one of my coworkers in person since really starting, other than like in a training. Yeah. And so I find that a lot of the times, like you might meet someone randomly out or like meet someone through someone else. But I feel like a lot of those adult friendships are formed through like activities.
Mutual interests.
Yeah.
I was just going to validate that. I think people can run into difficulties making friends at any age, of course. Like in high school, if you feel outcasted, if you feel like there's no one like you, if you kind of just move from period to period without anyone really knowing you, connecting with you, it's easy to fall into that. Even though you're around a lot of like-aged people, if you feel like nobody is like you. And I think the same with college, when I'd work with college students who felt that way. It's like they're not in an organization, they're not in a club, you know, they didn't do Greek life per se, certainly not that you have to do any of those things. But I think those things can be helpful. Like if you're just going from your dorm to class back to your dorm and you're kind of like grabbing your food to go, like, in any sort of setting, you can be alone, but taking the risk to be known by others is always a risk. And I'm biased, but now I'm going to totally agree with KBI that in adult life, there's less things set up for you. You have to join the Clean the Beach organization. You have to play adult kickball because I live near a beach. You don't clean your beach, Jess?
I live in a part of South Carolina that does not have beaches. I live in the mountains.
Just is landlocked.
Every part of North Carolina
North
has a beach. North Carolina is one big beach.
I don't live in North Carolina.
Or either one can be. But
one day Justin will
beaches.
get this right.
There are beaches. I'm just not close to Carolina.
Why do we even call them North and South? Can't we just call them Carolina? Petition to change.
There's two states.
Are they that different? Are they that different?
Culturally, I would say they are, but that's a whole
that's a whole nother combo. Okay. But just to finish that point, I think in adult life, you have to put forth the effort. You have to join the thing and put yourself out there. If you just go from wake up in the morning to work to back home, you're not putting yourself in a situation, except maybe online, which I think can be helpful for some people. But it's hard because you have to put way more effort, I think, than other periods in your life.
The structure isn't there.
No,
No,
I definitely agree with all of that. Because if I think of like friendships I've made in adulthood, it's either through online work, mutual interest. The other thing is like some of my daughter's friends, like in daycare. I've done like play dates, but obviously that's specific to parents. And then also like if you want to spend time with your children's friends' parents, there's like your child can really like the kid and the parents are not your people, not people you want to spend time with. But it is definitely
I just wondered how that worked.
Yeah. I mean,
We started
Like, what if
kindergarten.
the kids are like vibing, but the parent is just like, so like not your, like, what do you do? Do you sit there? Like, do you
just talk about your kids. You just keep it about the
Yeah.
kids.
True.
And you
That's the only
start
overlap
always
you
at
have.
like a neutral ground, like a park or a zoo or like something that, there's other things to talk about and do. Like a first play date should never be at one of y'all's house. Because then you're like stuck.
I will say I am the person, I will always volunteer to go to your house. Because then I can choose to leave.
Okay.
But we've entered kindergarten, and like my kid is talking about all these kids and like all the parents at parent drop off are all standing there, and I'm like, ugh.
Oh God, no pressure.
And we have like birthday party coming up soon for my son's birthday, and I'm like, ugh, I gotta talk to all these parents.
Might not serve you. You got to find new friends, KBI.
I don't want new friends. I have friends. They just don't live here.
None of my
Because you live in Maine.
I take that back. I have probably 2 close friends that live in Missouri that I literally met 3 years ago when I moved here. And that's really it. All my other friends are like in other places, so we always have to travel to see each other. So it's interesting how that works. And I think with friends and making friends, I've had a lot of luck online and meeting friends in real life, from Instagram. One of my close friends now, Steph, we've been following each other on Instagram for like a year, and our partners make fun of us. They're like, you guys were talking like you were in the dating phase for a whole goddamn year before you met up. I'm like, we have to know that we're not like serial killers. Okay. Like we have to like make sure it's okay. But now we're close friends, but we have a lot in common in terms of like social justice issues and stuff like that. So it's always nice seeing her, but it is a toss up sometimes when you meet people and you're like, oh gosh, how do I deal with this? Yeah. But how do you guys deal with friendship breakups, or like KBI was saying before, like growing distant from friends and how that affects you and how you might handle it? I know every situation might be different, but any thoughts?
Allow yourself to grieve. Because I think a lot of times, because even if it's like, it's for the best, or like it is a true like breakup. And I talk to especially my teens about this a lot. Like for many people, a friendship breakup can be harder than a romantic breakup because you've been friends longer or all these factors. So first grief. And then when you're kind of initially process that grief, at least what's helpful for me is like reflecting on like, why was this the right decision for now? Because it might not always be the right decision. Like I can think of one friend in particular that like we had a nasty friendship breakup in high school, and she ended up being in my wedding. And she is still to this day one of the only friends from high school I talk to. But for that period of time, our friendship was not serving one another.
Yeah, I think I saw this post the other day where it was like, it kept trying to like find an equivalent of the Roman Empire, right? That trend. And it was like friend breakups. And I was like, yes, I think it is hard. And I've had several I've had breakups that have happened because we just grew distant and we just stopped talking. I've had very intentional friendship breakups, and it's still funny to this day because I remember the friend in particular, we had like this break, and it was literally felt like a breakup. I was like, I want some of these things back, and he put them outside of his door, and I got so mad that because all I wanted was the pan back, and I dumped it out because I was so petty. And I remember like we didn't speak for like 3 years, and I remember like I had entered a healing journey, and I had reached out to him, and I said, hey, do you want to go get a drink? I said, I want to talk about and I want to take accountability for some of the things that caused us to end our friendship, because I did some pretty shitty things. And it was funny getting together because his response to me was like, I was over it in like 2 weeks. And like, we just didn't speak for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And I know that can be very different, given but it was so funny sitting there. I was like, what?
Yeah.
You were over it? And he was like, yeah, I was over it in like 2 weeks. And I was like, oh,
Like I held on to that for a while.
cool. And then I had a really close friend that, we had a falling out in high school because of a lot of different things. And I basically was like, get fucked. Because I was like, I'm not tolerating this abuse in a way. And so it is hard. And, some of those probably hurt. I would say probably hurt more than any significant other has ever hurt, because it's just, I don't know. I feel, to me, like sometimes friendships just feel so much more intentional. I don't know. I know romantic partners are intentional, but there's just something about a friendship that I don't know.
I think it encaptures all the things, though. It's the vulnerability. It's the time spent. It's the memories made. I mean, I think it's literally, not in some friendships, maybe, but it's just not having that maybe romantic or sexual component. But I think in other ways it can be closer, and the experiences and time shared can even be more than some romantic relationships are. Yeah. That's a tough one for me, because I feel like the only times I've experienced it is I'm going through a romantic breakup, and I feel like I lose people in the picking of sides, which if you know, if you don't know, then you just don't. Yeah. But it's just as a thing that sort of happens, even if you don't hate the other person or whatever, there seems to be sort of a split when you're friends with a couple, they break up, as relationships can and do. And that sort of happens. They kind of spend more time with the other person and not so much time with you. That has been hard, going through that. But otherwise, I don't know if it's on being a guy or what. There's been very few deliberate. I can't think of one deliberate ending. I think dudes probably just stop hanging out and just slowly drift apart. But it is, I think in the times I felt it the most is within that split of a romantic relationship. And you're like, man, I really liked hanging out with them. And sadly, it just feels like I won't talk to those people again.
I'm trying to think too, because I think whenever there's I don't know, what is it in here? I think it's a gnat or something. Whenever there's kind of a divide, I don't know. I really, first of all, I suck at holding grudges. That's a thing for me. I just suck at it because I just feel like life's too short, blah, blah, whatever. I don't know what that is about me. But the second part is I always let people go with love for the most part, unless I did something egregious, something really terrible to me, which is so rare. That's happened once my whole life in high school. But yeah, for me, it's normally we just kind of don't vibe anymore, but it's not a negative thing. You know what I mean? It's almost I still care so deeply for the person. So I think where the hang up is for me is I still want to be close because I care about them, but we're just not compatible anymore. You know what I mean? I just have to fucking accept it. And I suck at that too, because I just really value people and what they bring to the table. And I don't know, I feel like just how I look at friendships too is some people come into your life and they're the transient friends, the friends that are there for the moment or the things that you're engaged in. And there's some friends that stick around a bit, but everybody in your life has something to teach you and something to give you, in some way, and vice versa. So I never really like to, I don't know, have a negative ending, but sometimes it's really not possible based on the circumstances and based on the friendship. I mean, sometimes it's inevitable that it's just a hard breakup, like KBI is talking about. Sometimes it's it is what it is,
Well, in K10, listening to you, reflecting on a lot of my friendships as well, I definitely have had more of the just growing distant, but sometimes those are harder, at least for me, than the actual, when there was a falling out, because it's I love that person so much. I care for them. We've just gone separate ways or in different phases of life. And you want to make it work, but you realize you're just different people and you hold on to a lot of memories. And there's no oh, they did this or I did this. It's just kind of oh, I miss them being a presence in my life. I've found that a lot. And I think this might be unique to grad school, you know, with my cohort, like we did everything together and like we still chat, but there's definitely times I'm like I loved when I could just like, hey, let's go out to eat or grab a drink or do something. And now we're all dispersed all over the United States. And yeah, we can talk, we can phone call, but it's just not the same as it was when we were all living together. Not in the same house.
Yeah.
Like
near each other. I wonder if that, like, because you hit on a point too, and I just, all of y'all have said this about like the unique experiences, you know, like whether it's sports or grad school or high school or whatever it is, it almost seems like that is such a unique experience for those people at that time, like with grad school too. One of my closest friends in grad school, her name's Megan. I love her to death. I still love her. Hopefully she listens to this, but we were just like tight, you know, super tight, you know, and she moved, I moved for internship, and I still see her post and I'm like, I love this bitch. You know what I mean? Like it's just, there's so much time that's passed. I haven't talked to her in like a while, but I think in that time in grad school, you're right. You just do everything together. Like anybody who's in like I would assume like a master's program or even like a cohort program, like a doctorate program. I don't think I had any other friends at that time. Like I maybe had one because I was like, nobody else really gets it, you know, because it's such a unique experience. At least for me, it was.
It makes me think both as a professional and personally, like what y'all think, like what's the utility of friendships? If they come and go, if they can fade out, like why do we have these things? What's the benefit?
I don't want to get all sentimental and existential, but I feel like we have this deep need to belong. Shout out to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But I do wonder about like being able to, I don't know. I almost feel like, and I might have a different view on this, and I don't know if this is probably not based on research, just my own vibe, but I almost feel like friendships and connection and kinship is at our roots of being human. Like we're like, I don't know what it is. It almost like feels like when we were hunter gatherers, we were sitting around a campfire. That was our entertainment. That was our connection. That was our help or support. Like, I feel like we used to put so much stock into friendships and connection for survival, you know, and now it's like for fun and for other things, you know, and it could be for kinship and all that. But I do wonder if there's almost like an internal drive in us that like really, I don't know, it just puts friendship and connection in the forefront. And it might not be for everybody, but I think for most people want to be seen, heard, and valued from other people. And I don't know.
Yeah, my first thought was going back to when we did that whole episode on loneliness and how awful loneliness is for not only our mental health, but our physical health. And, you know, research has showed time and time again for literally everything, like social support is such a huge protective factor. So, you know, friendships better our mental health, physical health, makes us feel connected, the belongingness that K10 already talked about. I think there's so much utility in friendship, and what that looks like looks different for different people. We've already highlighted different types of friends, or like, you know, some people may be fully fulfilled with 2 really deep friendships. Other people might be fulfilled with, okay, these are like, Justin, I'm thinking of you, your basketball friend, your pickleball friend, like your going out friends. So that can look different, but I think there's so many benefits or utility of friendships.
Yeah, I have no doubts it's hardwired, like y'all said. Like, we're just not a species. Like it's at the basic level, we're just not. We weren't meant to like just be out on our own. We do terrible. Like, especially like every time I pick up a new client, it's such an important question. And it might feel totally unrelated to why they're coming to see me, but I'm always asking, who are you closest to and why? And then beyond that, if like, do you feel like you have people in your life who support you? Like, I could just ask, and sometimes I do, like if it's a child, I'll be like, who are your friends? You know, there's a lot of ways you can ask this question. It matters. I don't know if there's not a lot of other questions that I ask that I know how they answer this is going to tell me a lot about the difficulties. And that is one of them. Ask any therapist, any psychologist. If somebody's like, no one, it's a big problem. They don't have anyone who supports them. Nobody. No one they connect with. know when they share, know when they even online game with. I mean, it could look a lot of different ways, but it's a huge issue. Again, whether it's with depression, anxiety, whatever. But yeah, it gives so much meaning. When I literally pause and ask myself, what are the most meaningful moments I've ever had in my life? They're all with other people. I honestly, besides like maybe getting my degree or something like that, like there's very few that are just like me and me. It's always me with someone.
Yeah. I wonder if it changes. Go, Jess.
I was just going to add, when you were talking about that question, I asked that question too. And then a lot of times, especially if people answer like, oh, I have like one or two close people, I always follow up with, are you satisfied with your relationships? Or would you like more? Because for some people, they're like, oh yeah, wow, like two people is my max. Other people are like, no, I wish I had more friends. Right. Or even like the opposite. Like if they're like, oh yeah, I'm really social. I'm like, okay, so what does that look like? Are you a type of person that enjoys having a lot of friends, or any closer than others? Because like you said, it can give so much information about a person. Because some people might be like, oh yeah, I have like 3 people I'm really close to, but then they actually desire more connection. But if we don't assess for that, we're like, oh cool, they have like these 3 people they can rely on moving on.
Right.
I was going to say something so similar, Jess, and you said it beautifully. Okay. Yeah. Depending on the person's like assessment of their own needs for connection, I think it's so important.
Yeah, it's definitely not a number. It's definitely about quality. Quality, for sure. Like,
it's interesting too, because I think everybody's so different. Like my brother, he is the social butterfly of our entire family. Like he knows so many people. He has so many acquaintances, and he has like one really, really, really close friend from childhood. But he does so many activities. He does all these things. Meanwhile, I have like a core set of like people that I talk to. And then in my phone, the people that I don't talk to that much, those texts could wait. You know, in my mind, I'm like, I have to almost like not prioritize people, but in a sense, I almost feel like the connections that I find closest feel the most, not valuable, that's like the wrong word, but they feel the most fulfilling for me, you know? So for me, like if I meet a new acquaintance, I'm like super excited, you know, to like get to know them and stuff. But I'm also kind of like, if I don't have the bandwidth, then I won't. My brother is the opposite. He's like, always has the bandwidth. He's like, I got the bandwidth for any social interaction, you know? So I wonder if like introversion and extroversion go along with that too.
Yeah. I like that. Know what else we can go along with?
Oh, we can, and we will, and we must.
The Google Scholar Shorts.
Let's do it.
The question I'm going to pose to you all are, what are some benefits you can think of when it comes to friendships in the workplace?
Okay.
Oh my God.
Commemorate the misery together.
I literally was going to say that.
Together.
Yeah.
The text messages that happen behind the scenes in the Zoom meetings. Oh,
God, I miss that.
Hey, yo.
Anything other than commiserate?
I don't know. I think it could help you gain a sense of mastery pretty more quickly. If you're able to make friends, you're able to ask questions that you might not be able to like ask your boss. I don't know. I'm thinking of like the value of like helping you with your job in some sense too.
Yeah. I was thinking along the same lines of creativity, growth, learning from others. Yeah.
Look at you all doing my Google Scholar for me. So this study looked at 2 specific outcomes, which I'll get to in a second. But they looked at specifically both friendship opportunity, so like the amount of opportunities to make friends, as well as friendship prevalence. So the number of friends people said they actually made in the workplace. And both were significantly positive related to innovative behavior. So that's exactly what Justin was talking about, like the introduction and application of new ideas, products, processes, procedures, like that creativity, drive, all of that in the workplace. Additionally, friendship prevalence was significantly positively related to psychological safety in the workplace. So feeling like you could, you know, vent about whatever's going on and not then that person goes and tells your boss or things like that. But friendship opportunities was not related to psychological safety, suggesting that it's actually the formation of friendships and not the opportunities to make friends that make a job feel safe, welcoming, and unthreatening. So when we think about like the applications of this, managers can create appropriate conditions for establishing and developing interpersonal friendships in the workplace, direct people to avoid social isolation, help motivate individuals to make the workplace safer. And basically the study was saying like for companies, it would really benefit them to foster these friendships because, companies thrive off of innovative behavior. A company's not going to grow if new ideas aren't going to be, produced. And also if people feel safe with people they work with, they're more likely to stay in the job.
Yeah, I love that. I was just going to say, I was like, I think the thing that's interesting, and I get why there's been this pushback, but there's been a lot of pushback I see on TikTok and other places of like, we're not a family. Like, don't tell me we're a workplace family and get me a pizza party when I want a livable wage. I totally agree. Like, I can't emphasize enough. I agree. And I do think having positive connections in the workplace and exactly like you said, opportunity to connect, engage, have fun, all these things, I think they matter a lot. I don't think they matter above having a livable wage though. And it just feels like some of the content I see is like, screw the pizza party, screw the connection. Like, it doesn't matter. I think it does matter. But I think what matters above that is, yes, let's first give you a livable wage. And then we can have a pizza party. And then everyone will be really happy.
Well, I think that plays into not having a toxic workplace when people get along and things like that. And like, I know Kara, my friend Kara listens to this, so she'll get it. Like when we worked on a team together, like everybody got along. And it was like a joy to come into work. We weren't making a great wage. And yes, we still wanted those things, but we also knew we were coming to work and it wasn't toxic. And we knew that I was going to laugh during the day and that I could run down the hall and lay on someone's office floor and cry. And they're going to be like, okay. Like, and then like those things are important, but I do, like you said, Justin, like there are other things as well, but they can both be like equally as important as far as like, I don't know if I want to make a crap ton of money and work in a workforce where everybody ignores each other and hates on each other.
Yeah. Your coworkers like make your job, like in my opinion, really.
Make or break it.
Yeah. Like even your supervisor, like I stayed at the VA for so long because I just love the people that I work with and I love the clients that I worked with. There's a lot of things wrong, but it felt like, I don't know, it just felt like a community that I felt seen in, even though we were all like upset about certain things. But at the end of the day, we all kind of had the same goal too, which was kind of nice. So yeah, I could think back to some jobs that I've had, like even on the ambulance. That job was so stressful for me, but I loved it so much because we were all like so together all the time. It was like, it was just great. It was such a great experience. But yeah, I think it could help with so many different things.
I remember when I put in my notice and I told my team, I specifically said, like, this is not about you. Like, this is 100% has nothing to do with you. Because if I just based it off of how I felt about the people, I would stay. I said, I was like, that's the hardest part. That was the hardest part about leaving my old job, was leaving the people, because we had cultivated such a great team. And everybody got along, and people, hung out after work and got dinner together every once in a while. And we actually enjoyed each other's company.
Know what else we enjoy? We, as in the four of us, but apparently not the group members, right, Justin?
They hate it. Oh,
Justin
The
doesn't
polls.
enjoy it either.
God.
What are you talking about the four of us? Justin doesn't like it either.
I love the poll.
I think Justin secretly hates the polls.
I was the one that flooded that voting. That was like the poll. Ugh.
Hate it.
I like
Okay.
data.
Yes. So the
Same.
first question I asked, would you say it's easy for you to make friends? Yes, no, or it depends?
Depends.
It depends.
I'm answering for myself.
Yeah, it
I
depends.
think
88.
The majority of our group members said no at 49%, followed by
All right,
it
we
depends
see
at
you.
37.
Because
And
I
yes
feel
at
like
14.
I can make any friend I want. Whether I actually want to be friends with them, that's a whole other ballgame.
That's a pretty bold statement. By the
I
way.
know.
You want to be friends with me? Because I'm
Shoot.
still questioning it after
Yeah.
3 friggin' years.
Careful.
Okay.
It's a toss up at this point.
Next
Sometimes
question.
I'm just like, "Ugh."
How did the pandemic change your friendships? Options were overall improve them / gain friends, overall made us distant or lost friends, a mix of positive and negative, or the pandemic did not impact my friendships.
A mix.
Mix.
Yep. So a mix of positive and negative was 54%, followed by overall made us distant or lost friends at 23. The pandemic didn't impact my friendship at 16, and then overall improve them or gain friends was 8%.
Yeah.
I have so many more questions. Because I want to know, like, did it impact it because, like, time spent away? Or did it impact because beliefs came out
Oh,
That's
around
another
the
thing.
pandemic
Yeah.
that caused people to distance themselves? These are
Probably both.
yeah.
Probably both.
At your current stage of life, would you say most of your close friends are from school / work, they're lifelong friends, online, or others, such as hobbies, faith communities, etc.?
I feel like the first one.
the interwebs.
I don't know how high, but I think other is going to be high. Like maybe the second highest. Because I would put other as way high.
Okay. So school work was the top at 51%, followed by lifelong friends at 24%,
I'm impressed.
Nice.
followed by other at 19%, and online was only 6%.
Oh, shit.
So
Guys,
we're
an
weird. No,
anomaly.
I'm just kidding.
Me sitting here with all my online friends.
My online besties.
How often do you get together with friends? At least weekly, at least monthly, a few times per year, or less than annually?
Week.
Monthly?
I'm thinking of myself again. Yeah, I don't know.
So the top answer was at least monthly at 42%, followed by a few times per year at 30, then at least weekly at 16, and then less than annually was 13.
That makes me feel so much better. So I was like,
And
oh my God,
I do
I'm not seeing my friends weekly. And yeah. go ahead.
Wonder, like, depending on what stage of life most of our group members are in, because we all alluded to this, like, as you get into adulthood, especially if you've moved and things like that, if your friends are all scattered over the US, like, you're not getting together with them weekly, probably not even monthly. Like, you're making efforts, like, it takes planning and things like that. Okay. What qualities do you look for in a friend? So we got a lot of answers. A lot of people said, like, loyal, honesty, trustworthy, those types of words. Empathy and open-mindedness. Someone I can vibe with and trust and be silly with, but know when to be serious. Kind understanding, understanding my need for alone time. Honesty, intellect, and work ethic. Accepting, funny, silly, genuine. There's a lot of acceptance. Fun, compassionate, goofy, honest, non-judgmental. The spice and chaos, kind of like our podcast. Good sense of humor. Yeah, a lot of like kindness, trustworthy. Gives good hugs. That's exactly what KBI looks for in a friend. You're muted.
Actually, yes. Because didn't we have this conversation that, like, I hate half-assed hugs?
Yes, we did.
So, like, if you give a good hug, I am more inclined to give you a hug than if you give me like a wet noodle hug.
That's not true.
If you give me a wet
that is
noodle
not
hug,
fucking true. That is not true. I try to hug you all the time, and I give good fucking hugs. I give really good hugs, and you don't give a
debatable.
fuck about my hugs.
Debatable. Yeah. Bitch, I also cuddled with you in a bed, so that makes up for it.
I feel like you did that like because you felt bad.
No, it was really
Let's brought this here, Jess. What do we charge them per hour for this couples therapy?
I know. Oh my gosh. Well, the last one I was going to read was If I Feel Safe. And I don't know about you, Justin, but I'm not feeling safe in this energy of this
shut the
couples
fuck up. You shut up right now.
Yes. So, but as always, thank you all for engaging in our polls. Yeah.
Also, thank you for your group member questions. I know when other people have the group member questions, they don't thank you, but I will thank you. And I'll call you out each by name as I do. Some of these other podcast co-hosts, they're like, oh, so-and-so from somewhere. And they half-heartedly answer your question. Not me, folks. Not me. Let's get to it. Brittany, up in Canada. What a great question this is right here. I have some really great friends outside of work, but at work, I really struggle to make friends. I always hear people say that friends at work are so important, blah, 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 like you all were saying, especially as someone in healthcare, because they understand in ways other people can't. I just feel really discouraged because I want to make friends at work, but just can't seem to do it in ways that I've been able to in other places. Somebody help Brittany out. This is a good question.
When I think of the true friends I've made at work, like friends that I talk to outside of work or hang out with outside of work, the thing we connected on was not related to work.
Mm-hmm.
So we worked in the same job, but it started with, so I'm thinking of someone I work with who, her daughter, oh gosh, is probably 7 months younger than mine. So we're similar ages and life stages. Granted, pregnancy overlapped very minimally, but we had, we're new moms in common, or other friends we talked about, just even if I'm in a different stage of life, relationships, romantic partners, interests, hobbies outside of work. And that has really helped me cultivate those relationships, even if it starts with you have any fun plans this weekend? So you kind of get to know, what people are up to. Cause I definitely have work friends, but all I know about them is work related things, but those are not people I would necessarily hang out with outside of work. So maybe Brittany, if there's people you feel like maybe you would vibe with, start with, the holidays are coming up. If they have kids, what did you all do for Halloween? Or do you have holiday plans? Any fun things this past weekend, things like that, and kind of get a sense of what they do. And that can lead to conversations.
I totally agree. Because when I reflected on that question, I was like, the work friends I had that were just at work, it was we would do things within the work setting, meaning we'd go to the work happy hour once a semester, or we'd bond during an outreach. But it's different when you branch out of the work and you're we both punk rock music. And I'm like, yo, are you going? Les and Jake's coming South Florida in a month. Are you going? You're going? Cool. And all the people, it's you, when we got together, it was about anything else but work. And I think it's cool when you talk about work at work, you vent, as KBI was saying, you commiserate, but you got to do that bridge to something else, like Jess was saying. And that's on being vulnerable and being known. Maybe no one at your lame place of work likes punk music. And that's tough. Because if you start a mosh pit in the middle of the ER, you might be the only one. But
nobody's going to have your back,
when that cool PA joins and you're I thought this PA was into some punk music. It's just now you're going into some cool punk shows outside of work. But you gotta take that leap. Anonymous, from wherever you are, I'm just glad you're there and you're here asking this question, which I knew some of our group member or co-hosts would want to answer. And you even said you guys don't have to answer, but guess what? We're going to answer. What do you value the most in terms of your friendships with each other? And they said right here, KBI goes first. What it says.
No, it doesn't. I want proof that that's what it says.
It does.
Is what it says.
It says it.
Start us off, KBI. What do you value the most?
Value in this group?
It just says in this group.
What do I value in this group? I value.
You just asked Chat.
That was a really long pause.
Yeah.
No, because I'm trying not to have feelings.
I love this. I love this.
Go feel something.
But y'all you know what I value? You all getting fucked. That's what I value.
You've said that before.
I think what I value is that I can truly show up in every version of myself. So I can show up as Kristen. I can show up as a therapist. I can show up as mom. I can show up as mentally unstable. I can show up as mentally stable. I can show up as any version of myself for what that day is. And that it will be accepted with open arms and maybe just a little judgment. But like in this non-judgment way that I just truly feel seen in a way that I've never really been seen before from a group of people.
I'm going to engrave that in my brain so I never forget it because you're never going to get emotional again for another year.
It's recorded.
Oh, I can listen to it over again. Yay.
And the good news is KBI doesn't listen to the podcast, so she will never have to listen to it again.
I'm going to have a bad day and I'm going to listen to it over and over again.
We're just going to actually play it to her in Florida over and over. We're going to be like, remember when you said this?
No, but that's something that I truly value kind of just about this group is that we are there for each other in every version of ourselves each day. And we love each other for those pieces. And we don't make anybody feel bad. Truly, we may joke about it, right? We may joke about Justin's extroverted self or K10's unhingedness or Jess being Google Scholar, but truly that comes from a place of so deep respect and love. Mm-hmm. And yeah, feelings.
She's like, I have to stop because I'm getting feelings.
Shutting down now.
Cut it off. Yeah.
It was really good.
Popcorning.
Really sweet.
Popcorning to Jess.
So the first thing that came to mind when you read the question, Justin, was similar to KBI, but the balance of how we can all just be making fun of each other, all that kind of stuff. We know the limits, but if something happens with any of us, we can share it in that moment and be like, hey, this really serious thing just happened. Sorry, I know this is off topic, or we can even a voice memo, text message on here, just be like, hey, this just happened. I don't want to talk about it right now, but I need you all to know this. And we can all switch into okay, how can we show up for you mode? And it's that balance of banter and seriousness and showing up for one another, but it all happens all together, which I don't feel especially in that group of people I've had with every single person in a group before. Yeah, you have the friends that you can joke around with and be serious, but if any of the group members, if you ever looked at our group chat, you'd be what is happening? Because we're terrorizing each other one minute, talking about really serious world issues the next, talking about the pod. Somebody's oh, and FYI, this really traumatic thing just happened to me. And then we go on with our day and we're all able to mold and show up for one another in all of those. So kind of similar to KBI, but that's one thing I really value and appreciate about you all. Popcorning to K10.
Oh, fuck. I was hoping Justin would go before me. I guess the notable feature of this that I really love and appreciate is how dynamic it is. Kind of like what Jess was saying of like, it could be serious, it could be funny, it could be whatever. It just, and I think on top of it, like the part that I love the most is that I feel like my life has enhanced by knowing all of you in like so many different ways, like so many cool ways. And like, it's like really fun. But then like the other ways is like, I learned so fucking much from you guys. Like, I swear, like just the way that you talk about like presenting client information or world issues or like just your deeper thoughts on like even things like friendship. Like, I feel like I learn nonstop, you know, and I'm taking all of it in and it just feels, I guess maybe one of my values in friendships is like learning information and stuff like that too. So, but I also love the fact that we're so, I think we're funny. Like maybe other people won't agree, but like, I think that we're really funny. Notably KBI, I think she's the funniest out of all of us, to be honest with you. But like, so she keeps our fun. Her and Justin keep our fun going. Jess, me and you are we're a little less funny, but
I'm just unwell. That's what that is.
Yeah.
But we acknowledge that. Like you can say that to me, like, Jess, we're less funny. And I'm like, yeah, we are.
We totally are. Yeah. And I think the other part that I love too is that, to KBI's point, I feel like I could be myself, but I could also like my identity could shift. And I almost feel like since I've known you guys in the past year, like my identity has shifted a little and it's still well received. And it just seems really nice. I almost feel like I could grow within the friendship with you guys, which I really like.
Yeah.
Justin, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with what's been said. I started feeling something that I did the same thing.
I was feeling something, that's why I threw it to you.
I think, and this is a lesson I've learned just in the last few years, and I mean this very genuinely. I think you can have fun with anyone. I really do. It's not that special to have fun with people. What's really special is when shit hits the fan and things are not going well and you're going through lows and you're really struggling and suffering. Do those people have your back? Do they compassionately come to your side? And I can say, like, just in the year we've all been doing this podcast, all of us, I know have gone through stuff and had to have each other's back. That has meant more to me personally than anything else that we've joked about, laughed about, as much as I love that. And I won't out me or anyone else, but I just know all of us have gone through some really hard times, as we do in our life. But to me, that's really when the rubber hits the road of like, what is a group? What is a friendship?
KBI's melting. She's like, feelings. Oh, I'm dying.
Feelings, but then what the fuck was that metaphor?
Stop. It was really nice.
I don't even know what I said.
K10 and I are like crying.
When the rubber hits the road.
The rubber hits the road. You've never heard that
Have
one?
you never heard that saying?
No.
What?
That's when you get going.
It's because in Maine they have the like, you know, the chains on their tires.
Yeah,
like never hits the road.
And the chain grabs the ice.
Oh my God.
I love you guys.
Yeah, I love you too. Thanks for asking that question, Anonymous.
You know what else we love? Trying to be helpful to all you group members. You're like, I don't give a crap about how much you feel about each other. But no, I know it was a thoughtful question. And another thoughtful question is Megan from SD. And if SD is South Dakota, you're the only person I know there. There's probably 7 other people in South Dakota, but is SD?
I feel like Justin, it's South Dakota. But Justin, I feel like every time we get a question from somebody that's like a small state or like a state that we don't usually get questions from, you're always like, you're the only person.
You're the only one. Because I want them to know how proud I am of them. Like Megan probably walked and like sold 10 cattle to use the internet to ask this question, Megan. And we appreciate that. We really do.
Oh my God.
I am not endorsing this, Megan. I am so sorry on behalf of every other
snort.
Do you know anyone from South Dakota? If you're listening right now, it's a yes or no question.
I'm sure in my
Where's
lifetime I have probably met someone.
Montezula? Is Montezula in those? Because Hank Green is from one of the Dakotas. No, he's from Montana. Just kidding.
Oh, I do know somebody from North or South Dakota. Actually, I went to grad school with him. Jeff. No, he's from Montana. Fuck, never mind.
You know what? Who we do know? We know Megan, and Megan asked.
Oh, Megan.
Thanks,
Beautiful
Megan.
question, Megan. Love this one. How do you handle when a friendship feels one-sided? Ooh, I'm putting more into the friendship than the other person is, and the friendship feels like it's focused around the other person. I really like that question.
Oh. I feel like we could relate as therapists in a way, in some sense.
Yeah. That's really hard.
It is.
I'm like reflecting on times I've felt this way. And it's hard, especially when you really care for the person. One thing I've had to do, which is hard within itself, is reflecting on how the one-sidedness is impacting my mental health, emotional health, energy. Because typically when a friendship feels one-sided, you feel drained or like you're putting so much energy or upset. I would always say address it with the person first directly, because they might not realize or things like that. Ask what, or like tell them what you need from them, because it can be repaired. But if you've done all that and it still feels really one-sided, I think really deeply reflecting on like, is the energy and effort you're putting in worth it for you? Could this relationship take on a different form? Could you be putting your energy and effort elsewhere? Which is all really, really hard.
So hard.
Go ahead, Keita.
No, you go.
No, you always make us go. You're going.
If you don't go, I swear to God, I'm in this podcast right now.
You can't end the podcast. Justin has the power.
I'll just leave.
Exit stage, right? You're like, where'd she go? It's out there.
She's like, bye.
I was going to say too, to Jess's point, I think sometimes taking a step back and thinking about maybe the level of effort that you're putting into the friendship makes sense for what you want to receive or what you find to be a healthy balance for you. And that friend, I'm just thinking, just say there's nothing negative going on and like there's no unresolved issues. Maybe that's just how they want to have a friendship. You know, maybe it's not personal. Maybe it's nothing negative. They're just kind of like a more low key friend. But I sometimes think, okay, if I pulled back a little and I just took like a day or two break in terms of maybe reaching out or being the initiator, what would it feel like for me? Just doing a test, you know, and just seeing how that feels. And then maybe you could gauge it from there. Justin, what were you going to say?
Yeah. Y'all pretty much said everything. Some dynamics just form that way. And I don't think it's malicious. I don't think it's bad. I think, and I hear clients say this a lot of like, I'm always the one to reach out. And honestly, when I reflect, and again, that's a small detail in an otherwise one-sided dynamic, but I think in some dynamics, I am like the one that's always like, yo, are we playing disc golf or what? Like, I'm always the one setting it up. But then I have other friends who are always like, hey, is happy hour this week? And it's like, it's just interesting how you get used to certain dynamics. But if it's not, like exactly what was said, if it's not fulfilling for you, you have everything to gain by bringing it up versus sort of just ghosting, where I think a lot of us do that. And it's always a what if. Like, what if I actually would have, you know, told them how I felt, or maybe like brought up like how it was feeling for me. And I think that's how really deep relationships usually form, is people address tough things. Another great question here. Jennifer from Miami, Florida. Ooh, we love Miami. Gosh, Mr. 305, Mr. Worldwide. I'm struggling to be responsive to all my friendships. Is there a way to be more effective with maintaining friendships when you have to focus on daily tasks like work and school?
Why does maintaining friendships have to be a daily task?
Good question.
So one of the things that I have really started doing in a lot of my friendships, because I used to be that person where I was like, I have to talk to my close friends every single day. I need to respond to their texts the minute that they come through. Whereas now I've really set an expectation with people of like, I will respond when I get to it. It doesn't mean I don't care. I try to gauge, because the reality is I see all the stuff that comes through. Mm-hmm. But in my head, I prioritize it. And when something comes through and it's like, hey, I really need to talk to someone, that will go maybe higher on my prioritization list than, hey, let's plan a dinner for next week. I may push that off till tomorrow to plan. Not because I care about one person either more or less, but more because I just need to manage what is on my plate and the effort that comes with connecting with others. All my friends know it can take me up to 3 business days sometimes to respond to a text message. I have text messages. I used to be the person, I never had a red bubble on my text messages. Never, ever.
Wow.
Now, the unread keeps me in track of things that I need to respond to. Just because, like, I don't have the time to engage in super in-depth conversations all the time. I don't have the mental capacity or the emotional capacity to do that. And I think that comes down to having those conversations with your friends if they come up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just had to, on Snapchat, I did like a PSA literally on the way home at a red light. I wasn't driving when I did it. And I just had to make a PSA to all like my friends and family, because I just, after getting sick this year, I don't have the stamina, like mental or physical, to like keep up with stuff as much as I used to. And I think, KBR, to your point, I think my friends got used to me like always responding and being very available and like responding immediately. And I just don't have it in me anymore. Mm-hmm. I just don't, like, with where I'm at in my life. So I had to mention like, hey, if I take a day or two to get back to you, it's not personal. It's because I want to respond when I have the bandwidth where I could actually go back and forth, and actually attend to the conversation. But it is hard, I think, to the question. I mean, maintaining friendships is, I think, something, it's like a learned skill, right? Like with every friendship, the maintenance is going to look different. So you might have really super low key friends who are like, they don't care if they hear from you or not. And then they're like, well, let's grab dinner, or let's go to pickleball, or let's do something. And then there are other friends who are like, hey, didn't text me back in 3 days. Are you okay? So I think every friendship will call for something different too.
Absolutely.
Love that. Amanda from Washington, could be DC or state. I'm feeling a state. I just feel it right here. That's Washington State. This message comes from the Pacific Northwest, not the capital. I just know. When you know, you know. When it comes to friendships, do you think the most healthy ones have a lot of rupture and repair cycles? Oh, I got some thoughts on this. Okay, well, then I'll share a few. Yes, I think they do. I think the frequency at which they occur and sort of the magnitude that they occur matters. I think if it's happening often, I think it's a problem. Mm-hmm. I don't think healthy friendships or relationships have huge ruptures often. But do I think if you track any long-term friendship and ask, oh, did y'all ever go through some ruptures and repairs? I think a lot of people, I'm thinking of all the friends I've had. Yes. The answer is yes. They've been there. But through that, there's vulnerability. There's knowing the other, there's internalizing the other person's truth. There's a lot of great connecting things that go through rupture and repair. But I think where I draw back a little is if it's happening all the time and there's huge blowout things, then that starts to feel volatile and feels unhealthy. For what that's worth.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Justin, because my gut reaction was to a lot of rupture and repair cycles. And I'm like, how do we quantify a lot?
Yeah.
But I think you said it beautifully, like the frequency, the intensity, because I do think for a foundation of a solid friendship, there needs to be that willingness to like be vulnerable, like we've talked about, but also share like, hey, what you said to me really actually hurt. I know you meant it as a joke, but that didn't come across. Or like, hey, when you said this, I wouldn't have worded it that way. Like, can I give you some feedback? And those can be little ruptures or falling out, and then you can repair it. But I agree with you, Justin. If it's like this big blowouts, like all the time. And I also think it depends on the stage of life you're in and how long you've been friends. Because my longer term friends, like ones I've been friends with since, say, like high school or before, I've had more ruptures and repairs than maybe friendships I've made in adulthood. And those ruptures and repairs are going to look different because I have different skills than I did when I was 15.
Related and sort of different, Maddie from OHIO says, how do you know when it's time to let go of a friend? I've gone no contact with a former friend, roommate before. I'm not sure if I need to do that again with another friendship or just distance myself. A lot of nuance in here. I'm kind of wondering how you all have known when it's time to let go.
I don't know if this is the right thing to do, but this is what I've done my whole life is when I leave from seeing that friend, not necessarily do I feel energized or tired, like not really that, but do I feel like a pit, like in my stomach or like, where do I feel it in my body? I'm really like, I feel things in my body. So I'm like, if I feel like a sense of like dread or like anything that's like overtly negative, I'll clock it and I'll say, okay, let me see if this is a pattern. And if it happens like multiple times, again, it's so hard for me to let go of friends and hold grudges and all that stuff. But if it's a persistent thing, then I have to like get curious about it. Like, okay, where's this coming from? Is it because they're going through something or am I going through something or what is it? But when I think about the term like abusive or, it's one-sided or something like that, and I could couple all of those things together, I tend to think like, if it's really making me feel this way and then I have to go home with that feeling, do I really want to hold on to that feeling? So that's kind of the initial, I don't really have many other thoughts other than that, but like the initial feeling of like getting curious about it, feeling where it is in your body and really trying to figure out where it comes from is really a good start in my opinion.
Yeah. Similar to you, K10, like if I think of the times I've actively like made a choice to just kind of distance, let go, it's usually friends that I felt drained around, maybe didn't look forward to spending time with, or like found myself like making excuses like, oh, I'm busy, or oh, not tonight, or even just, and like this is a me thing, this is nothing with the friends, found myself like, I don't know, being more negative or irritated, like either when I was around them or just like with behaviors, and recognizing like this friendship is no longer serving me. Like I'm not as happy and enjoying it as much as I once was. And that can be hard, like we're saying, because you have those positive memories. But for me, a really big sign is like, if my feelings towards the person or when I'm with the person are, and I hate labeling feelings as negative, but that's the only word coming to mind right now, are like majority negative.
Sure.
So that pit, that drain, frustration, irritability, that's usually a sign like, hey, this is not a person that's adding a lot of value to my life.
So well said. We got one more question here from Megan in the UK. And I think, again, it's important to offer suggestions. I want to hear what creative things come to your mind. But Megan says, how, as adults, do you actually make friends? It was easy as a child. Now I live in a semi-isolated area and recently moved from a job. How do I make new friends? What do y'all think about? What has worked for you?
So Megan, first, I just want to validate that, yeah, it's a lot easier as a child, at least in my experience, because like you go to school and you're around kids, or like, I don't know, I was in like sports, like I did gymnastics for years. Like, so I made friends that like you're just always around people your same age. And then you come an adult and like, we didn't even touch on this, but like your work bestie might be 20 years older than you. Like you're like in totally different stages of life. So I just wanted to validate that it is so much easier, at least for most people. I'm not saying, because obviously people struggle to make friends as children as well. as adult. That doesn't answer your question. I just wanted to validate that.
Yeah. I've moved around so much and I've noticed it's so hard to make friends when you either move to a new area or you just like, you're in an isolated area and there's like nobody like around. I've actually been on meetup.com. I don't know if it's an app. I think it might be an app. I met some of my like closest friends on Meetup. Like literally, like when I moved to Phoenix, I was like, I know nobody here, literally not a soul. And we just moved there out of nowhere because we wanted to be somewhere warm. And I was like, we have to try to figure out how to make friends. So I went on to Meetup and I met my friend Jenna. She became a really good friend of mine. Like she's great, love her. But it was awkward in the beginning because there's like group meetups, right? And then sometimes you'll go to the group meetup and then like you'll kind of vibe with one person and then you don't want to like not go for the whole group. It's like that whole dynamic was hard for me because I was like, I don't want to single people out and just be friends with one person. But if you vibe, you vibe. That's okay. If it's like a group activity. But I think like we were talking about before, having like a mutual interest activity is super helpful. Really, really, really helpful. So. Anyways, but I'm just going to throw it to somebody else. That's all I had. What was that?
He's just pretending he didn't hit his lightsaber.
What is he doing?
It could have been anyone or anything. We'll
no,
never
it was
know.
your lightsaber.
Show us right now.
It was your lightsaber in the corner of your video.
Yes, he was holding it. Anyways.
A lot of things will remain unknown.
So, Megan, another thought, because I know you said you live like in a pretty isolated area, things like that. You know, online is a potential way to connect with people. I do think there is a big difference between getting that social interaction, you know, in person. But like, I am not a gamer, but I know video games are a way to connect with people, social media, or even if there's like, I don't know, I'm aging myself, Facebook, but like social groups that like are local to your area. So even if it's more isolated, can connect with people and then there can possibly turn into meeting in real life. That can be helpful as well.
The only thing I was going to add, volunteering, of course, but and just consistency matters. I think that's the hard thing is people want to roll up to like one meetup event. You want to go to your yoga studio one time. You want to volunteer once. You're like, I didn't meet anyone. But the reality is a lot of times you just need to be consistent with showing up to the thing week after week, same time. You know, you have these small conversations and they lead to bigger ones. But I think that's the tough thing that's missing, like that we lost through COVID and that you have as a kid. Like, did you instantly meet your friend in your class the first day of school? I think for a lot of us, it's like it happens over time. But you're lucky because you're exposed consistently that you have a lot of opportunities. But that exposure piece is really important.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you for joining us this week in group therapy. I had so much fun talking about friendships, though, because these three people are people that I cherish my friendships with.
Stop it.
Even if sometimes I want to lock them in a closet and throw away the key and never let them out because I can't stand them.
That just
But
escalated
that's
real quickly.
That is abuse and neglect right there. That's all okay.
It's not abuse and neglect because you're adults.
Somebody report that.
You
I'm
can't
calling
report it.
the
You're
police
adults.
right now.
You're fine. You're fine. You'll
What
be
if
fine.
we're
It's okay.
vulnerable adults?
None of
At
you
least
are
in South
vulnerable adults.
Carolina, I have to report if there's abuse of a vulnerable adult.
I'm
Not a
feeling very vulnerable
damn
right
one
now.
of you are vulnerable adults.
Wow. There we
But
go.
again, thank you guys so much for joining us this week. We hope that, you know, maybe you felt validated, maybe you got some clarification or anything like that. So make sure that you share, rate, subscribe to our episode, share an episode with one of your friends, welcome them into group therapy, and we will see you next week in group therapy. Bye, guys.
Bye.